One of the things that I thought I should put out there, I've said it before, but I want to say it again. The reason we're talking about the Igbos first, is about the Asaba first, is that there's a mistake I think we make as far as history is concerned. Whilst it's true that Igbos are not the owners of everywhere, it's also true that they exist in spaces other than the southeastern part of Nigeria. And it doesn't hurt to acknowledge that. So when we talk about what the minorities went through, the Igbos in the Midwest were minorities, but they suffered at the hands of the Nigerian forces. And that's why we spend time to talk about them. But going forward, we're going to be switching gears. We're talking about what happened in the hands of what happened to the minorities in the hands of the Igbos. I'm going to start with a document from the UK Parliament. That's from the House of Commons. This is a parliamentary record from the UK Answered, dated August 27, 1968. I should like to correct a myth about Eastern Nigeria. Speeches have been made by Colonel Ojukwu at Addis Ababa in which mention is made of 14 million Igbos. One does not need to have been a historian at Oxford to know that this is not a fact. When one goes to Calabar, Port Harcourt and elsewhere, one finds there are in the southeast states and river states at least 4 million, some say 4.5 to 5 million non-Igbo people who have suffered in the past as a minority in the east under an Igbo administered eastern capital at Enugu, similarly as the Igbos suffered in the north in 1966 under a northern Muslim dominated capital at Kaduna. I'm going to read that slowly and break it down for us. Ojukwu went to Addis Ababa to talk about the plight of 40 million Igbos. Number one, he lied. There is nothing like 14 million Igbos in 1967. That's not true. That's one thing. The entire region, when you count every other group together, they were still not up to 14 million, let alone just Igbo people alone. When the Constitutional Conference in Lagos adjourned for 2 weeks, the Eastern delegate refused to return to continue the discussions. Meanwhile, the Eastern Radio continued its campaign, inflaming the passions of the citizens of the Eastern region against the rest of Nigeria. By threats and tricks, Igbos outside the East were invited into returning home. All this could not but increase tension. Then some elements in the Eastern region embarked on widespread organized killings of the people of Northern origin resident in the East. News of this was first broadcast by foreign radios. In these terrible circumstances, riots erupted in the north in which about 5,000 people lost their lives. A majority of those killed were Igbos, but many others were police personnel and Northerners. These tragic and regrettable killings have since been grossly exploited by Mr. Ojukwu to compel the Igbos in the East to rebel and take up arms against their country. So what you have here was that, yes, people were unalived, but the numbers were put at 5,000. However, much later in that same year of 1966, there was a pamphlet that was published by the Eastern region that put the numbers at 8,000. This was October 3, 1966. It mentioned that 5,000 people lost their lives in the north. Now again, 5 people too many. So 5,000 is a lot, but it's also not 30,000. So 5,000 people lost their lives in the north. The East published their own pamphlet and said it was 8,000. News of this was first broadcast by foreign radios. In these terrible circumstances, riots erupted in the north, in which about 5,000 people lost their lives. A majority of those killed were Igbos, but many others were police personnel and Northerners. These tragic and regrettable killings have since been grossly exploited by Mr. Ojukwu to compel the Igbos in the East to rebel and take up arms against their country. But it is important to understand the facts. In his impromptu address to the ad hoc Constitutional Conference on October 1966, General Gowon reacted to the October tragedy in the following words: "Certainly there has been a damage. I think that is what we have never seemed to admit when there is something like that. There is a damage and I am very, very sorry about it. I regret it and I am doing everything I can." Mr. Ojukwu himself at the Aburi conference in January 1967 put the number of those killed in the Northern riots at 10,000 and insisted then that he had foolproof evidence to support his claim. When it suited his plans later, he raised the figure to 30,000, accused the federal government of organizing the killings of Igbos, and distributed many malicious publications on the alleged pogrom. It was 5,000 from international observers, and federal government agreed on 5,000. Like 5,000 people died. I mean, estimates. But Ojukwu said it was 8,000. Sorry, it was 8,000 in the publication of the Eastern region in the same 1966. By January of 1967, Ojukwu said they were 10,000. By May of 1967, Ojukwu said they were 30,000. By the Ahira Declaration, Ojukwu said they were 50,000. The figures kept changing, and if